Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so glad you're joining me today because we're going to jump right in and take a bit of a Socratic journey together. As your guide, I really want us to pull back the curtain and discover how sport is. Well, it's way more than just physical movement. It's this incredibly profound social space where identity, belonging, and society itself just completely collide. We're going to unpack some pretty heavy societal themes today, but we'll break them down so they make total sense and stick with you.
Okay, so before we really get going, I want to anchor our entire exploration on one big central question. I just want you to keep this in the back of your mind as we go. Is sport always inclusive, or can it sometimes actually exclude people? You don't need to answer that right now. Just kind of let it marinate while we look at the evidence.
Here is our roadmap for today. 1. More than a game. 2. The power of identity. 3. Belonging and its boundaries. 4. The reality of exclusion. 5. A mirror of society. And finally, 6. A starting point for change.
All right, let's start with section 1, more than a game. I want you to think for a second about your own experience playing on a team, or maybe even just watching a massive game with your friends or family. Sport is, at its core, a fundamentally social space. It's literally a laboratory for human interaction. It's where we learn to cooperate, to compete, and to communicate. And yeah, it's a space where we can feel deeply connected and intensely proud. But on the flip side, we have to admit it can also be a place where people feel judged, invisible, or totally left out. It is absolutely never just a game.
Which brings us to section 2, the power of identity. So, what is identity? Well, it's simply the way we understand ourselves. It's how we answer that massive question, who am I? Think about a young person saying, I am a runner, or I am a dancer, or I play football. That is not just a casual statement about a weekend hobby. No way. It's a really profound declaration of self-image, of pride, of meaning. It dictates their friendships, their daily routines, and honestly, even their dreams for the future. Now, take a look at the stark contrast here. On the one hand, sport can be incredibly empowering. It can help a super shy kid finally find their voice and feel like they truly matter. But conversely, it can create intense identity pressure. It can feel almost like a cage. For example, it can pressure a young girl right out of football just because society slapped a boys' sport label on it. Or it can make an athlete who uses a wheelchair feel like the physical space simply wasn't built for them. Sport absolutely has the power to build up a positive identity, but we have to recognize it also has the power to severely limit it. I really want you to reflect on this for a second. Think about the local sporting spaces you know well, your gym, the local field, the courts. Does that space actually let people be themselves, or does it pressure them? Who feels completely free to just show up and play? And perhaps more importantly, who feels like they have to change themselves, their look, their behavior, just to be accepted into that environment? And that naturally leads into section 3, belonging and its boundaries. Belonging is an incredibly powerful force, especially for teenagers and young adults. It's that deep, reassuring feeling that, hey, there is a place for me here. A team with shared goals, shared rules, maybe a shared uniform, they can transform from a totally random group of individuals into a tight-knit community practically overnight. And that sense of belonging, it can do absolute wonders for a person's well-being and confidence. But this dual nature of belonging is tricky. On one side, you have the phenomenal power of we. This is where teammates from totally different backgrounds bridge massive cultural or religious gaps because they literally depend on each other to succeed. But we have to be super vigilant about the they boundary. Team pride can turn into hostility really fast. I mean, we see this all the time in digital fan communities, right? A sense of belonging there is sometimes built entirely on spreading stereotypes, insulting the other side, and rigidly closing the door to anyone new. Which brings us to section 4, the reality of exclusion. The hard truth is, inclusion takes intentional, deliberate effort. If we don't put in that effort, visible barriers just take over. Think about it. We see exorbitant club fees and crazy equipment costs completely locking out lower-income youth. We see unadapted facilities excluding folks with physical disabilities. We see totally unequal resources based on gender. We even see people staying home simply because they are terrified their body size or fitness level will be harshly judged. These are the visible barriers, the ones we can easily point to. But exclusion isn't always about official rules or a missing wheelchair ramp. A lot of times it's completely invisible. It's hiding right there in the small moments. It's that repeated joke about someone's accent. It's a hurtful nickname. It's a quiet pattern of someone being ignored, or the really sharp sting of always being chosen last.
These little actions might seem minor, but they quietly and firmly tell a person you do not belong here.
Be honest with yourself for a moment. Have you ever seen someone excluded from a sport? Try to project your own lived experiences onto what we're talking about here. Recognizing these seemingly small, everyday moments of invisible exclusion, that is literally the first step toward actually changing them. Moving on to Section 5, a mirror of society. If a society is struggling with inequality, racism, or sexism, you better believe those exact same tensions are going to play out right there on the field. The field is just a reflection of who holds power in the broader world. Ask yourself, who takes leadership, who is left waiting on the sidelines, who receives the attention, and who gets ignored. If we watch a game carefully enough, it shows us exactly who gets the resources, who gets celebrated, and who is structurally sidelined in our society. But here's the beautiful part. Because sport is a mirror, it's also an incredible laboratory. Imagine a coach notices two really highly skilled players are just dominating the game, right? They're keeping the ball, and the rest of the team is basically just watching. If that coach steps in and intentionally changes the rules so that every single player has to touch the ball before the team can score, well, that one concrete action completely balances the game. It uses the sport as a learning space to teach shared responsibility and fairness to the whole group. It's a total game changer. And that perfectly sets up Section 6, a starting point for change. When sport is actually designed intentionally, when we build in moments of reflection and use thoughtful rules, it stops being just a game. It becomes this amazing, structured practice ground for the exact skills we need to build a cooperative society. Players learn communication because they literally have to share information. They learn empathy by having to notice the needs of their teammates. And they learn shared responsibility because, at the end of the day, no one can succeed entirely on their own. It becomes this incredibly vital tool for intercultural dialogue and real peace building. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. What does sport reveal about your society? I want you to look really closely at who is included and who is left out on the field, the court, or the track in your own local community. Because if sport really is a mirror of society, then changing the rules of the game, well, that just might be the very first step to changing the world around you. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. Keep asking those great questions, and I'll catch you next time.